Hey guys, welcome back to Manic About Movies. I'm I'm Chris. This
Is Aaron.
and this week, we went to a classic new Wes Anderson movie that has tons of
That's
famous people. Oh, it's not so classic, but it's one of his bigger Wes movies recently. The French Dispatch, which uh is a really is I think actually it's one of his more strange ones, and it's kind of separated. But I'll give it to Aaron because he was the one who watched it. Or recently watched it. I watched it a long time ago. And his thoughts.
Alrighty. So, good old Wes Anderson, Houston born and raised. I am not super familiar with his filmography. I have seen The Grand Budapest Hotel. Thought that one was really good. Haven't seen it in a long time, and I've also seen The Royal Tenenbaums. That was a good one. Those are the only two I've seen besides now The French Dispatch, which has a 75% Rotten Tomatoes score.
Pretty good.
So, it's a little difficult to even describe what this movie is. It's like
Yeah.
it's very distinctively Wes Anderson. I'll give it that. At the beginning, my notes are this movie's gonna have a lot of printing because it just has a still shot of a printing machine going and going and going, and I'm like, it's gonna have a lot of printing in this. And I will say it has a damn interesting set design throughout this entire movie. Like even from the beginning, the set design is immaculate, well done, almost theater-esque.
Yeah, it seems kind of like it was made to film, and like they made it look like a play almost.
Yeah, he has notoriously short filming sets because he doesn't want to film very long, and I guess that's probably why he's able to get so many famous people because he shoots very quickly, and he has sets that it seem like they kind of move easy. And a thing that keeps getting brought up at the beginning is brought the world to Kansas, bringing the world to Kansas, bringing the world to Kansas, and it's in France, and I don't get it. I don't get it. Is this supposed to be like a knock at Kansas, like, oh, we're bringing French to Kansas, like it's the middle of nowhere? This art, I don't know. Right, he's writing. Good old Bill Murray's character is writing to Kansas. I don't know what that whole thing is. But the movie goes through this kooky cast of writers, which is, the usual Wes Anderson actors, the Schwartzmans, the Elizabeth Mosses, the Bill Murrays of the world, and they're all kooky characters that some don't do anything, some just do weird stuff. And then we keep getting shown, you get shown good old dead Bill Murray a lot. He's dead and then he's alive, then he's dead, then he's alive. It's back and forth between dead him. And I liked the little part where when he's dead, it'll get passed down, it'll be paid pro rata. It's good old insurance talk there. It's said in the what's it called, narration, that he's ferociously protective of his writers because they are his people. And then we hop to Owen Wilson riding a bike, driving through the city. It seems like at one point when he says French words, it's hilarious because he has such a distinctive like Texas accent, country-ish, and own his own accent that it sounds so odd that I was like laughing that he's trying to speak some French words. And he gives a backstory of the tour of this entire little kooky town in France where majority of the people somehow speak English and have perfectly fine American accents. And then there's some scenes where all of a sudden people speak French for a second and then they go into English again. It's like, why are you doing this? Pick a side. And then he talks about like weird ways of like rainfall, and it rained exactly 190,000 snowflakes this year. And then Once he's done with this tour, it just immediately jumps to story one, artist and artists, arts and artists, story one. We get Benicio del Toro staring at a naked lady, painting her. And it's funny to me because I always have to bring Bond into this. Benicio del Toro was a former Bond villain who's painting a naked picture of a former Bond girl. Then he starts randomly walking up to her, painting on her pelvic region, sexually suggestive. She like snaps at him and gets him away, and then he goes back. Turns out she's a guard, just puts on her guard clothes, and he's a prisoner. And apparently they're just allowed to get away with everything 'cause it's so corrupt, I guess.
It's France.
Yeah, I guess, whatever. And then Adrian Brody's character is introduced as Avadi. He's got some rich family, but he's somehow in jail and he sees his painting in jail and then he goes, I want to buy it. He gets a meeting with with Benicio del Toro's character and he wants to sell it. He wants to buy it. He's like, it's not for sale. Then he says, 75 cigarettes is what I want for it. And he said, can't do that, but I'll give you $250,000. And he's like, is that good? And then he looks at Simone, who's staring in at them, the naked lady. She's like, that's good. But he also gives them as a down payment like 4 cigarettes and a candy that he feeds to Simone because apparently this baddie security guard is infatuated with this psychopath.
Love it first sight. I mean, you don't know who you'll fall in love with.
Now you don't, but it's weird. Um, and then they start talking about his paint that he has to use. He has to like use, he doesn't actually have paint. He has to use whatever he has available to him in there. And somehow he has an insane amount of pigeon's blood for red. And I'm like, how in a jail cell do you get that much pigeon's blood?
Well, at the time, they might have been using them for like communicating.
Pigeons.
Yeah.
Is this, you think this is Harry Potter?
Well,
Or,
that was owls.
yeah, but you can't train a,
You ever heard of a carrier pigeon?
they couldn't train a pigeon. And if they could train a pigeon, they wouldn't be slaughtering those pigeons if they could train it to,
They they definitely could train it.
yeah, and they would immediately train it and slaughter thousands of them so he could paint with their
Well,
blood.
they need a lot of them, so some of them die.
That should be my profession, training pigeons. All right. They let this dude do whatever he wants in prison. I'm trying to get past that. It's just like Simone is like, has this cock hold on all these other security guards and just walks past him with this guy and lets him do whatever he wants, wherever he wants. And then Avade's like, oh, he's made them this big celebrity and he needs his big art piece. His next one has been like 3 years or something, and he hasn't done a new art piece, and he's doing it. And then he's getting kind of mad because he's like, what the fuck? I've made you famous, Benicio. I need money. I want to be rich. I've sunk thousands, $100,000 into you. And then Avade, you find out his backstory, and he like killed 2 dudes because they were bullying some guy at a bar, and he sliced him up with a meat grinder, not meat grinder, a saw. And then he did a growl before he killed those 2 guys, and he starts growling at Avade, and I'm like, he's gonna kill this dude. So he then is in a wheelchair after his painting because he decides to stab himself in the leg, and he tries to electrocute himself to death. And he is just suicidal now. He's like, I need more years with this painting. And then we do find it. He finally shows his new art piece, and all these buyers that are there to try to buy it are amazed and and love it. But it's cemented into the walls, and they can't remove it. And Avade is pissed and starts talking shit about him. And then Benicio, funnily, starts chasing him in the wheelchair to try to kill him. And it is pretty funny for a while just watching him throw stuff at a man in a wheelchair because he cannot run a wheelchair, Adrian but Avade. And then it gets ended with one of the worst effects I've ever seen, where she just like sticks out her baton, trips Adrian Bodie, and he flies in the air comically, and then stops and flips Benicio del Toro out of his wheelchair. He goes flying just by hitting it with the baton. And then a big fight ensues because there's all the rioters want to come in, all the people that want to be bribed, all the prisoners, and a big fight breaks out. And then, as we're just told, that Benicio del Toro can no longer stand and is confined to a wheelchair because he stabbed himself in the leg. He just randomly stands up and fights, and then and then it ends.
You know, he's just a miracle, he's a God's gift when it comes to painting and art, and then he can just perform miracles.
He can walk. It's like Ricky Bobby. And then we cut to politics and poetry section. Poetry section, story two. Revisions to a manifesto. We start out with it's like in a school, and all the dudes are fighting for access to have 24/7 access to the girls' doors. Then we meet, I don't know her character, I don't even remember her character's name, but it's Frances McDormand, and she's lonely at at a couple's house. But she's not, she claims she's not lonely, and she prefers being alone.
Lucinda Crimmins.
Yeah, Krimitz. And then she goes into the bathroom because the area gets tear gassed. She's crying, and they're like, "Are you crying because you're lonely?" She's like, "No, I got tear gas." Then she sees a naked Timothy Chalamet writing his manifesto, and he is skinnier than skinny. And he starts going, "I'm afraid of shy about my new muscles." And um, yeah, uh, she starts roasting his manifesto, saying, can't write, you have bad literature, can't spell." And then they start sleeping together. You hear them outside a room going ham.
Making
And
all
then,
sexy time.
yep, they're sleeping with each other. Then we go in there after they're done with the sex, and she's writing her journal about him doing his manifesto while also helping write his manifesto. And then we cut to randomly uh, a story about one of his friends in his manifesto called Mitch Mitch. And he comes back from the war and he's like, "I'm not fighting for this anymore, blah, blah, blah." And then it gets the lady Krekmets turns his story into a play that he has where a guy named Morso, they're asking everybody what they want to be when they're done, what they're gonna do, and he says, "I want to be a protester." Then he jumps and kills himself 5 stories out of their dormitory. And then there's one character, I don't remember her name. It's a younger girl that's just like a revolutionary that's obsessed with her makeup uh, thing.
Juliet?
Yeah, Juliet. And then she's speaking in French while everyone else is in English, and she's being all snooty. I'm a fighter. Yeah, I'm a rebel. And then,
You,
while the thing that annoyed me the most, they caption her right into English, but it does it in reverse reading style. Goes from bottom to top. Each one pops up with every line of dialogue instead of top to bottom. Very annoying. Wes, why? Then we cut
because
to
it's kooky.
yeah, I guess. And then we cut to her narrations where she goes, "Until the chessboard revolution," because apparently they're deciding the war off a game of chess or whatever rebellion's going off of between Timothy Chalamet and the leader over like a phone. And then it stops for a bit. He doesn't make a move. They have a fight between a lovers' quarrel between Juliet's all pissed because I know you're sleeping with old hag maid here. and I'm not even mad about it, but like I'm a rebel and she shouldn't be writing this, needs to keep her journalistic integrity. She's sleeping with you. I don't agree with what she says. And then she's like, I'm sorry. And they talk to each other. She's like, you're not a grown up because you claim you are a young lady, but you're not because you can't accept someone's apology. Now, y'all two, go make love. Get out of here. Oh, he didn't play his chess in time. Now everyone's shooting and tear gassing and fireworking. So they go make love. We have another naked scene where Timothy's making out with Juliet. Then he decides to broadcast his manifesto from a radio station. It breaks. He climbs up on top of it. Does he get shocked? And maybe we get a little funny scene of him falling down? No, he just fixes it, and then we cut to a narration. He drowned. He's dead. And now his parents are sad. That's essentially the end of that one.
Do you understand what oh, my cat was messing something up. Do you understand what like the battle was going on and everything?
Sex
It
over
was the
sex.
it was the French Revolution.
If that was how they're going to describe the French Revolution, I don't like it.
It was like you ever seen Les Mis? We watched Les Mis in class. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we
Yeah. It's
uh,
like that.
a better that's not even a great representation of the French
Well,
Revolution.
yeah, they're but one's a play and one's a Wes Anderson movie. They're not gonna be exactly accurate.
We should do something good and besides just it to end, oh, I die. But we made love and I'm an American fellow who lives in France. Everyone's American with American accents except for this one Juliet and I'm sleeping with an old lady. Now I'm sleeping with young lady and I'm dead.
Yeah, I agree.
It ends abruptly. Then we cut to story three. Taste and smells. Dining with the police commissioner in the dining room. So we meet another Bond guy who's a reporter, Jeffrey Wright, and his character's also called Wright, which is funny, I guess. He's a
Yeah.
reporter. He's talking to Liev Schreiber about his story. He gets an invite to dinner with the commissioner, who is played by another Bond villain. And he just is walking through the police station to get to this dinner, and he's giving a long description of the food and etiquette that the commissioner does and has. And then we pull up to William Defoe in a chicken coop in a jail cell. And he's like, oh, wrong cell. Oh, whoopsie, wrong place. It just skips past him. I guess he's just like, well, William's a friend. Let's throw him in here somehow.
You had a couple days off.
Yeah. And then we find out the commissioner loves cooking. He's got this magical chef that's fire bursts around him as soon as he starts cooking. And then his son is a law enforcement prodigy. He's raising him to be a god. He's been drawn, he was raised in the penal system. Then he steals some, they start eating. He steals some unsolved cases as he wants to figure out with his little friend. May I remind you, these are children. Then Edward Norton's voice appears on a phone because it's very recognizable. Again, very not French, just Edward Norton's voice. And he says, we've kidnapped your son. And then we cut to the son and his little friend, children, and Edward Norton, I guess, pops in from the ceiling, shoots his little friend, chloroforms the son, kidnaps him in a blimp. And meanwhile, this cuts to like a graphic novel style illustration of the escape. Then, once that happens, we cut to William Defoe out in the loose, going through some rubble, finding a suitcase, and then all these cops come out, catch him grabbing the suitcase, and then the mob, I guess his friends, come out, and a big shootout commence, and then he just squats, covers his ears, and doesn't get shot or anything. Kind of does like a Green Goblin stance. And then we cut to Mr. Wright, the reporter, trying to get his work published with Bill Murray's French Dispatch, and he wouldn't do it. I said, I'm not going to publish it, but if you're ever in town, I'll think about giving you a job, even though I don't want to publish your work. It's not good. But he gets the job as he's locked in that same cell, the chicken coop. Bill Murray says, read this book, The Lookout Below, and you have 2 days to write a 300-word review about it, even though I know you've done everything in writing except book reviews. Then we cut back to the hideout, and we get a description of Edward Norton and his cronies, and then we have Saoirse Ronan, I think it was, playing a showgirl that just they have three there, and then the son starts rizzing her up from he's like tied in a closet to a steel pipe, and he's doing Morse code. She's like, "What are you doing in there?" He's rizzing her up, and she's singing to him. He's like, "Do you have blue eyes?" And she looks at him with her blue eyes, and he's rizzing that girl up. You're
Yeah.
not a bad girl. You're actually a good girl. Then commences, there's a shootout happens. A really dumb one because it's just a zillion shots are fired at both sides and not a single person gets hurt. Also, they're shooting a zillion shots where his son is. What if they shoot his son through the walls, which they show a little bit later? They almost do. Then there's a standstill and they want to eat. So the chef is cooking for the commissioner and Wright and all them. And then somehow they have access to the pipe that his son is doing Morse code on. And he says, send the chef. I'm hungry. So they offer the hostages. I mean, the people, the bad guys are like, you want some food? We'll cook, our chef will cook some for you. And they're like, Edward Norton's like, if it's that underling, I don't want it. But if it's the actual magical chef, I want it. Magical chef comes over. They cook some food. He poisons it, but then he has to eat it to prove that it's not poison to get their trust. He eats it. Everyone else eats it except for Edward Norton because he doesn't like radishes. And
Uh-huh.
neither does the son because they knew the son wouldn't eat it if he saw radishes. But somehow the chef is magical, right? We remember his stomach. He's a chef, so his stomach is like an iron made of steel. He survives. Everyone else dies except for Edward Norton. He takes the son, runs away, gets in his car, drives off free. He gets away. Oh, wait, never mind. He's going to turn back around for some reason, go back into the square where everyone's shooting at him to make a second round, just so or this out of shape wrestler to jump on his car. Wrestler jumps on
Yup.
his car, a chase ensues in graphic novel style again. And then all of a sudden now the wrestler is this beefy, jacked man all of a sudden. As this is going, the son cuts out of his ropes with a coin and climbs on the roof, jumps into his dad's arms. They break through the glass. They're all safe. And then Edward Norton's like, "Oh no!" Flies off a ledge to his death, but
Allegedly.
allegedly. But the wrestler is superhuman, does a backflip midair off of it, falling a great height, and lands on his feet fine. Then the son punches his dad, and they laugh, and happily ever after. Oh, wait, we cut then to him telling the story to Bill Murray, who's reading it to see if he should publish it. And he goes, this is not about cooking. I wanted something about cooking, even though he gave a long soliloquy for 30 minutes about cooking. They've talked about cooking three different times. And then Jeffrey Wright's character, the reporter, goes, I can't read the last part. It's too sad. I have to cut it. He lets him read it. And it shows that the chef on his deathbed, and though he survives, goes, the toxic salts had a flavor that I'd never tasted before. You know how hard and rare that is to find at my age. A new flavor. Not great, but a peppery, almost this type of flavor. Then we get to the final story, Declines in Death, where we cut back to Bill Murray being dead. He dies of a heart attack. They don't come and remove his body because the morgue, people at the morgue are on strike. So no one's taking him. And then all his writers around him just decide, let's write his obituary. And they talk about him a little bit. All the friends are back that were barely in this movie that didn't need to be in it. And it ends.
Yup.
So that is the French Dispatch.
It's really well summarized. What do you kind of think your thoughts? Hey, what do you think your thoughts about it?
What just happened?
My cat just peed on my couch.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Does he have a letterbox?
Yep. He's two of them.
That's a bitch. Just kidding, he's not a bitch, he's a cat, not a dog. Um, I'm not a big fan. It's it's like Pulp Fiction, except three different stories that are kind of hard to follow in and of themselves. And it's very confusing, like I feel like purposefully, or maybe not purposefully. A lot of narration, a lot of random stuff that doesn't need to be there. Like Tilda Swinton's character when she's talking about the artist and like giving a slideshow about him. There's just a naked picture of her in it that she put in there for some reason, and she goes, "Oops, my bad. Naked picture of me." Um, yeah. Out of the three, this is the third I've seen of Wes Anderson. This is by far the least favorite of mine. I don't get it. It's immaculately done. I'm not a fan of like much of the acting in here. I don't even know what they're doing. I think Jeffrey Wright was good.
I love Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah, he was really good in this. I was not a fan of Timothy Chalamet's acting. I was like, what are you doing? He's just, playing a preteen boy, which, I feel like anyone that's a preteen or a teenager can do. It's the only actor that I was like, okay, Jeffrey Wright's the only one I was like, okay, he's doing good here. Benicio del Toro, I mean, didn't do bad, but he didn't have much to do except I'm an artist. Leia Seydoux was just, I'm a guard and I'm naked and I sleep with the psychopath murderer. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this one. I don't know what to describe about this movie. It's weird. It's another eclectic one that you've made me watch that I'm like, was there a point to this one? You know what I'm saying? I didn't, was I supposed to come out with a message? Because I didn't get it. Maybe I'm dumb.
I thought this was is kind of different from Wes Anderson movies that some of them, but like it's still like the funkiness that he's normally had. But I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was so almost impossible to keep track of what's going on.
I would like a movie that has at least I could somewhat keep track of what's going on, though I may be confused. But this one, I'm like, I can't keep track. We're jumping stories. They have weird abrupt ends. They don't have like a rhyme or reason. I mean, the set designs are immaculate. The quirkiness is still quirky and cool, but it's only so many times you can get away with it, Wes. You've done a lot of movies now,
Yeah.
you know, and he just always brings his friends in, and his friends are all incredible actors. I mean, I wouldn't, I mean, I think Jason Schwartzman's good and all. I think William Dafoe's terrific. Francis McDormand's great. Edward Norton's good. I mean, these are all great actors. You even have the Fonz in here just to kind of stand in as a rich uncle. Um, it's just like they all seemed kind of wasted because they didn't really get to act in it much. I mean, like you give Chalamet the most acting time.
Yeah, he's kind of the the face of Hollywood currently.
I'm like, Jeffrey Wright killed his section. I will give him
I
that.
I love
Benicio del Toro wasn't bad.
I loved Benicio del Toro in this. I love Jeffrey Wright. I love William Dafoe in almost everything they do.
But he didn't even do anything in this movie. I don't even, I think he had one line of dialogue.
Yeah. He's kind of just there to be there.
That's what it felt like with all of it. It was just like, I want to make this weird movie that I got really high once, and I had these three stories come into my mind. I want to write them down, get some of the best actors working today that are my friends, and have them not do anything. But let's shove Owen Wilson to give a long description of a city that in the end does not matter to the three stories we're talking about here, unless all the three stories are taking place within the same city.
I think they're taking place within the same country,
Yeah,
but not the same city.
and I just don't get the choice of like, if you're gonna make everyone just, just say, okay, they are French, but they're speaking in American accents and speaking English, so it's
That I
easier
don't
for you to
mind.
digest. But then all of a sudden having one character
I
speak
thought that was
complete
just kind of
French,
I thought it was just kind of funny to do
and then
that.
and then some people are jumping in and out and they understand each other perfectly fine. I don't get it, Wes. I don't get this movie. I ain't gonna front with you.
Yeah.
I respect you. I think you're a great filmmaker. The other two movies I've seen of yours are I enjoy quite a bit. I've seen a few
Uh,
scenes of Isle of Dogs, and that was a funny one too. The part scenes I've seen. So I mean, your thoughts on this movie? Your thoughts on this movie? You picked it.
uh, I think that it's a strange movie. It's really hard to follow, but I did enjoy watching it when I did watch it.
So
And
so this is your synopsis. Strange movie. It's hard to follow, but I like it.
yeah, I liked the pace of it and I liked the characters. The comedy I thought was pretty well done.
Yeah, there's some funny scenes. There is some funny
I
scenes.
like the way they act, like that style. I think that's pretty fun to watch.
I think it was good in some parts. I also liked Adrian Brody's character. I thought he acted pretty good, though it was a small role.
Uh-huh. And I like the
Vade.
cinematography of it. It's
No,
just
I won't deny that. That part is always amazing in this
it's
movie.
it's purely just the storyline that confuses me.
I will say it's aesthetically pleasing, very much so to the eyes. It's very pretty sets. It's cool how they have it like moving like it's a Broadway show. They push stuff out of the way to set a new scene, but the story's very difficult to follow. And I, yeah, I'm a mixed bag on this. What's your rating out of five on this one, Chris?
I give it like a 3.5.
Three and a half. I give this one a two and a half.
It's fair. It's fair.
And that's just my personal opinion. I mean, if we ever I mean we can't do it because we both seen Grand Budapest, and I'm assuming we both seen Royal Tenenbaums, but I thought Grand Budapest was a five,
Yeah.
a 5 star movie, 4.5 to 5 star. When I last saw it. Royal Tenenbaums, I probably would have given a four because I thought it was really funny, but I also haven't seen it never. But like, I feel like he missed the point on this one, or dropped the ball. In my opinion, it's like it's far way too hard to follow. It's like if Pulp Fiction was like, let's make zero sense of why the story's happening. Let's have someone narrate over weird stuff going on. And I don't even get Owen Wilson's character except he's just friends. He's like, and like Elizabeth Moss, they're just writing friends. And Schwartzman, they're just there at the beginning and the very end. It's like we don't get to know them. Why should we care?
Yeah. I do agree.
So is that it for this week? Is that I don't
I,
even know what else to say.
no, I think you did a great job. Good synopsis. I got a little sidetracked because my cat, so I have to go clean that up. Uh, but I think it is a good movie.
Is it metaphorical that the cat pissed on this movie?
Yes.
Your cat heard French Dispatch and was like, oh, let me just piss off Chris right now.
Yup.
We make him have to clean up a mess.
Yup.
Well, good luck on cleaning up that mess. But I guess that is it for this week's
That is it for
episode.
this week. Aaron will decide what movie we watch next.
We're
Uh,
watching Sharknado 8.
let's go,
All right, signing out from Aaron and
Chris.